Welcome, welcome to the show, known as the Aaron O Show. Now, I will say, you guys said I was muted. Yes, I was muted, and I didn't know that actually. So that was one of the first time I thought I clicked the button, but it didn't unclick. Either way, just want you guys to know this is a last minute stream, so it is what it is. So I put this. I saw this happen. They just reached a deal, and I said, I kind of want to talk about it. So it's last minute stream. These particular streams don't necessarily do the best views wise, support wise, but these particular streams to me are more informative and more thoughtful than the drama filled and other ones. We don't have time for that because it's always going to be drama in the LBC. So aside from that, we're going to get into today's show. I want to talk about a couple things. I want to get you guys' thoughts about it. Mhm. All right. So I'll open up the panel in just a moment. I want to set the stage for what we're going to talk about today, right? So, one, of course, shout out to my brother Granville, always supporting, always sponsoring the show. Basically, GBG been sponsoring the last few shows, so they ain't been on the biggest support. So, shout out to the gang. But I think this is going to be a really, really good conversation. I think this is going to be something you guys are looking for. Spence, what up? I think that a lot of the stuff I say to you guys sometimes it goes over. You guys don't really see it play out until I show you how it plays out. So I'm going to attempt to do that today, right? Last show we discussed, what did we discuss? Greed to a certain degree, worker versus customer. I kind of transformed the independent contractor who you guys see as a worker into the business owner so you guys get a different perspective. So today I'm going to hone in. Oh, the tipping thing. Yeah, we can actually go way deeper on the tipping conversation, Peter. But today I'm going to try to really, really hit home with you guys with this conversation, okay? There's been a tentative agreement set between the union and Ford Motor Company in particular. So it's going to be really interesting. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm back. Now, this is what I want to discuss. I want to discuss some of the details of the deal that were released initially, what I think this deal actually means, into the bigger case of things that I've been explaining to you guys. So just remember, this is going to be not the particular conversation that you guys normally get, right? Y'all know the ones. We gonna try it a little different today. But I apologize, last minute, literally like 20, 30 minutes ago, I said, oh, let's talk about that. What's going on? What's going on? So trust me, you're gonna want to hear this play out. Now, I was looking for this other video because it's actually perfectly suited to correlate the dynamic of it, but I was not able to find that particular video. So I'll have to adjust around it. It's not a big deal, but it actually is a really good video to correlate things. I'll see if I can find it though later. So first things first, we're going to discuss what's been happening. Everybody that knows, who are friends, have family that are in the unions. The auto industry is a huge industry. It is one of the biggest lobbyers. They are one of the biggest businesses in all of the country. They have a lot of workers. They typically pay fair wages. They tend to be in places that are not the highest cost of living for a lot of different reasons. And their employees have been going on strike. So, my first question to you guys is this: do you guys think strikes actually work? Honestly, because the stuff I'm about to say to y'all, right? Y'all gonna think it's wild crazy, but when I tie it together, y'all gonna be like, that actually makes sense. So I'm gonna have to take notes real quickly because the ideas that are just flowing through my head right now, I don't want to forget to correlate it to you guys, and I will forget it if I do not write it down. All right, let's do it. Now, first thing first, we're going to get into the UAW President Sean Fain speaking briefly about the deal, right? So that's the first thing we're going to discuss. We're going to break that down, and we're going to get into that deal just first. So give me 1 second here. All right, we're going to pull this up. And G-Ville, I'll bring you up in a second, bro. I just want to work through this video for a moment, and then I'm going to rock out with you. Here we go. Let me pull this up. Here we go. This is the president.
I'm excited and honored to be joined today by Vice President Chuck Browning as we announce a major victory in the stand-up strike. Today, we reached a tentative agreement with Ford. For months, we've said that record profits mean record contracts. And UAW family, our stand-up strike has delivered. What started at 3 plants at midnight on September 15th has become a national movement. We knew we were getting close, but we also knew the companies needed a major push if we were going to make sure we got every penny possible in this agreement.
Now, so far, he's essentially saying they won this deal. This is what he's saying. They have won this deal. They finally got the big corporation to budge. This is what he's indicating. So he's delivering to his people a sign of strength and a sign of success, essentially, victory.
So we took our strike to a new phase and hit the companies with maximum effect. On Monday, we called on our UAW family at Sterling Heights Assembly to stand up. That is Stellantis' biggest and most profitable plant. On Tuesday, our UAW family at Arlington Assembly answered the call, and they went out on strike, shutting down GM's biggest and most profitable plant. Ford knew what was coming for them on Wednesday if we didn't get a deal. That was checkmate. On day 40 of the stand.
Oh, checkmate, checkmate, checkmate. Have you been watching our shows? Listen, y'all, listen, it sounds like they've been watching our shows, don't it? Since when do these people use checkmate? They've been watching our shows. Okay, so guys, we popping a lot more than we thought we were. Let's just be honest. We popping a lot more than we thought we were.
End up strike, we reached a historic agreement. As you know, in our union, the members are the highest authority. That means we have a process for rolling out the details of the agreement and making sure every member gets a chance to make an informed decision. So here are the next steps. First, we have reached a tentative agreement with Ford. Next, your elected leadership in the UAW National Ford Council is going to come to Detroit on Sunday, October 29th.
Yep.
They will vote on whether to send line on Sunday night. Following the council,
the most lucrative agreement per member since Walter Reuther was president.
Let's rewind
to the power of our members on the picket line and the threat of more strikes to come, we have won the most lucrative agreement per member since Walter Reuther was president. Between
you guys hear that? Record agreements. Notice the language that they use. Record, historic. These words are just to kind of, in a lot of ways, I would like to call it gaslighting personally, but that's just how I look at it because I know what's truly going on. But they're saying these things to make you feel elated that you actually accomplished something. And maybe you did, but this is why they're using such language.
wage increases, COLA, annual bonuses to retirees, and other economic gains, there is more value for our members in each individual year of this agreement than the entirety of the 2019 agreement.
So essentially, listen to what he just said, right? That's all that we need to hear for that. The agreement that was initiated in 2019, it surpassed it supremely. This one makes that agreement in 2019 look like trash compared to this one now. It's essentially what's being said, right? Fine. I don't need to get too much more out of that, right? So I'm going to show you some of the things that were said in this historic agreement. Let me see here. Oh, Lord. Here we go. Yes. And I'm going to pull it up for you guys, right? Let's read it here. So, remind you, though, this deal was reached with one of the largest group in particular, and that is Ford, right? Now, Ford, to me, has the most at risk because I think they probably have the most workers in the U.S. and that they probably have more profit to lose in the United States. That's just what I think about it from what I've read, right? So they've reached a deal. Let's go over briefly what that deal actually means, right? So it's a 4-year deal. They say it has to be agreed, ratified by their union members, but we all know that they're most likely going to do it because rarely do you come to an agreement and then not actually sign for it, right? So this is what the president said. We told Ford to pony up, and they did. Okay, fair enough. That's what he said happened. I disagree, but if that's what he said, we're going to rock out with that, right? Now, he also added Ford put 50% more money on the table than they did before the strike started. So whatever money that they agreed to, Ford had to put 50% more just for them to come to this agreement, right? So this is where it's going to get interesting here, right? So that, to me, it sounds really, really good so far. Let's get into some of the little details, right? They said the workers will get a 25% general wage increase plus a cost of living raises that will put the pay increase over 30% into above $40 per hour for top scale assembly plant workers by the end of the contract. So going into the 4th year, they will be topping out at least $40 an hour for the top workers, pretty much the top scale assembly plant, right? That's what they're saying. Numbers sound good. It's interesting, right? Assembly workers will get 11% upon ratification. So once the deal becomes ratified, they're going to get basically a bump to about 11%, and then the rest will gradually increase over the next few years, okay? Now it says almost equal to all of the wages increase since 2007. So far sounds really good, right? Here's the thing that's most important for you guys. I want you guys to pay very close attention to. They're saying the deal, which historically has led to other companies matching it with their own settlements. So what that means is this. Ford struck a deal that is now what we would say the bottom, right? Or the model, right? That the comparable agreement. And the other automakers are likely to take that and go, okay, if that's the baseline, we're going to all agree to that. So if Ford will give you 30% or over 4 years, they're not going to really say we're going to give you 40% over 4 years. That's kind of like where the base is now that there's an agreement in place. That's kind of like saying that's what we're willing to pay. And Ford kind of struck the deal for all of the rest of the auto companies because if they don't match it, then they will stay on strike. So that's essentially what that means, okay? Now, skim through this down. Temporary workers will get a raise of over 150%. Cool. Sounds good. And retirees will get annual bonuses. All right. All sounds good. Okay. It says, thanks to the power of our members on the picket line, the threat of more strikes, they have won the most lucrative agreement since such guy was the president. Okay. And that was back in 1946. This is when women are saying, I want men like my grandfather. And the guys are saying, like, well, y'all not like your grandmothers. So those are the years that they talking about. Okay. So I believe that is essentially most of the breakdown of the information that we have for that deal. I don't believe that there was anything else, but yeah, they talk about the 401k, yada, yada, yada. 20,000 workers coming back, full lineup. Got it. No problem. Okay, right? So all of that is essentially what we wanted to know, right? So that's the key to what happened in that deal. Now, you guys tell me, do you think that is a successful strike and a successful deal? Because right now in the poll, it says that 60% believe strikes actually work. 60% believe strikes actually work. So that's the question. Nidish, what's going on, family? Now, I think it is a relatively good deal for what they probably could have gotten. There could have been more fighting, could have been rejection, etc. Could have been pushed out even farther, right? But that is essentially the breakdown. So what's going to ensue is that Stellantis and General Motors will likely follow suit. Ford set the groundwork, right? Now, why is that important? I'm going to tell you why that's important, and then y'all going to start to see what's going on here, right? So let me see. This is actually, I want you guys actually now. The video is not a direct correlation, but they're going to say something that's very important in the video that I'm going to play soon, and then you guys are going to totally understand why this exists. Okay, let me see, where do I want to go from here? Got it. I'm going to play this video here. I'm going to bring Gville up, and then I'm going to play this video. And you guys not going to get it essentially yet, but then you guys will get it eventually. So let's play this particular video. Let me pull that here. Got it. Listen up to this video.
To struggle, I can do that on my own. Thank you. I don't need a man to struggle with. That makes no sense. In fact, the last couple of years, I read several books or started to read several books by very famous celebrity coaches, female coaches. And then I shut the book and put it away after the first couple of chapters because they lost me at, I was standing broke at the grocery store and I couldn't pay my grocery bills. So I called my husband and said, this is never going to happen to me because I'm going to do something to earn more money. Wait, you have a husband and you can't pay your grocery bill? We have a problem. We have a problem. What is that man doing sitting at home while you were at the grocery store and you can't buy the groceries? And you called him to tell him what? That you're going to get a job or get a better job and earn more money? That is not the phone call I would have made. I need to struggle. I can do that.
Oh. Sorry about that. That's not the video that I wanted. There's another video, but I cannot find it. I thought that was probably it, but that's okay because I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. I'm ultimately going to break it down with this because that's not the video. Ignore that one. This is what I want you to realize. When a woman, when you guys heard, gosh, I wish I had that video, but I cannot find it. Yeah, that is very much an annoying voice, MS. I know, trust me. Whenever you used to hear, we just let the men think that they're in charge. Y'all know y'all have heard that before, right? My mama really in charge, but you know, we let the men think that they're in charge. You know, they kind of discuss allowing you to lead and you think you're in charge. See, for a lot of people, it's important that they think that they came up with the idea. See, there's movies like Inception, right? That plant ideas in your head, plant ideas to make you think it's your idea, right? Now, how does that correlate? How does that correlate, right? Let me tell you how. See, when you do these strikes and people think, oh man, these companies are making all this money and they're not sharing with us. They're not sharing with us. Here's part of the problem. These companies are quite aware that you're going to be upset about it, okay? These companies are quite aware that you guys are going to complain. I'm sorry, I was reading one of the chats. So I was making sure I'm paying attention to people. So they know you're going to complain after a certain amount of years. They know after a few years, inflation start going up, prices start raising. They know you're going to start complaining. They know you're going to get frustrated. And they ultimately know how much money that they can pay you. Whenever you go to a negotiation, right? Whenever you go to a negotiation, they have what they call a scale, right? A pay scale. And they'll show you on a post, it'll say this salary is anywhere from $55,000 to $80,000, right? And from anywhere there is a negotiability there. Now, some people talented enough, skilled enough to negotiate over the pay scale. Rare, but it can happen, right? But this is the point. They want you to believe that it's your idea. They want you to believe that it's your idea. And this is why it saddens my heart for people, because they're constantly playing a game in which they think that they can actually compete, but they cannot. This is not a game you can compete with. You learn the game and you learn to win the game. You don't change the game, and you can't beat the people that's winning. You can join the winners. I'm going to repeat that again. You can't beat the people that's winning. You can join the winners. There's no beating the winners, my friends. There is no going to the people at the top of the mountain and beating them. You're not going to. What you're going to do is, if they riding horses and they got all the best horses in the world, you're going to get your horse and you're going to ride with them. But you're not about to shut down the horse racing. And of course, I apologize. I'm still a little under the weather, a little raspy and all that, but I'm pushing through, right? So I say all that to tie this to the off for just a moment. Mullah, what up? I am disheartened because I know that people think this is a victory. I know they think this is a victory. But I'm going to tell you the victory is actually for the corporations. And I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to let you figure it out in your own head of why that it is. Salaries, minimum wage, all actually cap your abilities. It all cap your abilities. So this historic deal now turns into the same deal that GM's going to get and Stellantis is going to get. So thank you. All you effectively have done is told us what you need to be paid. Right? Think about this, guys. All you have electively done is said, hey, this is what you guys want to get paid. And you go into the corporations and they say, hey, now we have to put in our operations to pay them this X amount. Now, whatever we do from here, they're capped. They have agreed to this X amount of money. They have agreed to this for the next 4.5 years. So that means whatever money we make uncapped is all ours to keep until they complain and cry 4, 5, 6 to 10 years later again. And then we play this same game over again. See, what happens is if you study the history, right, what you find is year after year, profits keep going up pretty much for the good companies, right? They raise prices, profits keep going up. Your salary don't until you whine and complain, and then you go on strike, and then they say, all right, we're going to give 10% raises. And you guys go, that's fair enough. And then they play, and then you guys are quiet because inflation is what woke people up, right? Silent inflation is what's destroying people. But the problem is this, because most people don't understand inflation, and even I don't, to the deepest degree. On the lowest level, people understand what inflation is theoretically. Oh, yeah, that means the prices of goods and services go up after the year. But if they don't see it, then they don't know the impact. So, for example, some things may go up one year, some things may not. They may go down. But other industries will go up on their costs. And whatever other industries impact other industries, those costs might not happen until 2 or 3 years later, to where you start seeing crazy spikes in pricing and another thing that stayed the same for 3 years, but they're correlated. So you're like, man, how come this didn't go up, but this did? Well, don't worry. A few years later, that cost will push everything up. That's just how it works, right? So people understand it theoretically. Now, in play, we all understand inflation runs 2 to 3% a year, but that's cap. Real people know it's more than that, right? But when you start seeing heavy inflation, that's when people can truly see the impacts, because silent inflation kills people, but overt inflation wakes people up. It makes people nervous. They start to fear and they start to get upset. They start to get tighter with money. They start to get, very much like a miser. You know what I'm saying? So they try to hold on to this money as long as they can, which ultimately hurts them, because holding on to money actually slows down the economy. The economy requires money to be constantly moving. So if you guys want to know why we start to have inflation and why we start to have issues, is because people slow spending down. And when you slow spending down, that causes major problems in the economy. So that's why they have these things called stimulus packages, right? They put more money out there to make you feel better, and then you spend the money. They don't want you to hoard it because it costs people, right? Now, once this deal has been ratified, the rest of the companies will ratify it. All you have effectively done is created the minimum wage for that year. I've been explaining this to you guys for the longest. Accepting any type of minimum wage will destroy people. Everybody should vote against it, and you should be able to negotiate your salary all the time. Never give these companies a baseline. And see, what they did was they removed the minimum wage and just did the corporate wage based upon industry, right? So now, instead of the federal minimum wage for all jobs all across America, right? What they have is, these are my words. This is how I create the concept, right? So you guys can understand it. They have the industry wage between Ford, Stellantis, GM, and any other ones, but those are the major three, right? They have think about it like this. They all went out to dinner. CEO to Ford. I'm not saying this actually happened, but I want you guys to pay attention. Just think about all the CEOs from the big company. They all went out and they said, hey, listen, these guys see that we're making all this money and we looking bad. I ain't gonna lie. We got to get the optics back in our side, right? Oh, think about this. We have to get the optics back on our side. So what is going to happen? Look here, man. Last time I was the one that budged on the agreement, so I'm not budging again. Who gonna do it? You? Ford? All right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna play tough. We ain't giving them no money. And we're gonna talk tough. We're gonna say, look here, they better, this is as good a deal that they're gonna get. And so we're gonna look like the tough, hardcore people that ain't willing to budge. But ultimately, we have an idea of what we're willing to pay y'all. Now, you gonna sneak in on the back end, be quiet, and you gonna go sneak off a deal with them. Once they agree to that deal, now we know that's all we have to pay them. Now we know when we get record profits, we create a new car, we make more and more money. Now we know that's all we have to pay them. So you go get it done, right? We're going to be tough over here. Now, that's essentially what happened. They went all over to Ford. The UAW was talking tough. Yeah, we want more money for our members. Now, mind you, he's going to get paid regardless, which is actually the right thing to do, but it's complicated. They get Ford. They think they got Ford in a chokehold. Give them a noogie. Give us our money. And Ford's like, okay, brother, okay. We'll give you your money. And now you think it's your idea. See, the key to a lot of things is to make people believe it's their idea. Example, say you really want ice cream, right? Oh, this stuff is real deep. But you don't want to admit it, and you know they're not going to want to go get ice cream unless it's their idea. You just got to plant the idea in their head. Make them think it's their idea. Make them think they won. Think about this. And this is what these striking workers in the UAW believe, that they actually force these companies to pay them. Everybody in their right mind knew that they was going to pay them. The question have always been, how much? Oh, it's going to get even better. Now, with that being said, that is the corporate baseline for that industry now. Up to $40 an hour over the next 4.5 years. You're about to be seeing that play out everywhere, right? Now, that's done. Now, how do we correlate it to the next business? And I'm going to show you how corporate politics work. They make you think that they're battling each other. They make you think that they don't like each other. It's all a game. It's all a game to get you to believe that you're in charge and you made the idea. Now, let's shift over to streaming. Now, if you guys are familiar with streaming, what's going on right now? Do you guys know Netflix just went up on their pricing model? You guys know that Disney increased their pricing model, right? Do you guys see that, right? So Disney increased their streaming costs. Their streaming costs for their services. Pretty much all of the streaming businesses have increased their prices. Am I right? Have you guys seen that?
Yep.
So now that you see that they're doing that, that should further prove to you guys that they're all in it together. And I'm going to show you how to correlate it now. See, when companies are not into it, what they do is they undercut each other, right? What they do is they say, I'm going to keep my prices real low, and I'm just going to make sure people want to come to my service because you charge too much, because it ain't fair. Give you an example like this, a very cutthroat company like Amazon. There's a very known story of what Amazon did to a small diaper company, right? That was doing really well. And what Amazon decided to do was, while having them in a meeting, they went and essentially bankrupted that company in real time. They told them, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to sell the same product, basically, but we're going to sell it for way less than you guys sell it, and we're going to lose money. But we're willing to lose money to put you out of business. Yeah, we're willing to do that. We're willing to lose money to put you out of business. However, in this sense, these streaming companies are not willing to lose money. What they're willing to do is make the consumer make the same choice. So if I go up on my streaming prices, hey guys, let me give you the example again. Netflix, Disney, HBO Max, even Apple TV, but they're a little limited because they don't have the content that these other major media companies. So it's really HBO Max, it's really Netflix, it's really Disney. You know, it's really them. Those are like the big dogs. You know, you have Paramount. Those are like the big ones, the big media companies, right? It's important to know that they have the same meetings, in my humble opinion, right? This is what happened. Disney goes, hey, Netflix, I don't like you. And they Netflix, well, we don't like you either. They wink at them and say, well, we're kind of bleeding costs right now. And so we're going to need to come up on these prices in order for us to start being profitable. And so in order for us to do that, we can't afford for you, our competitor, to keep your prices low, because otherwise, if you keep your prices low, then they're going to serve all the business to you. And then we're not going to get as much business, because better pricing, you're more likely to get more customers. So when we go up on our prices, i.e., you got to go up on your prices. And we'll use an elaborate reason to why we're going up on prices. And we'll just say cost of workers, cost of content, and we're going to all do it one after another so that you guys don't have the actual option. So one goes up, another goes up. They raise it again, the other raise it again. That's how they control the pricing. So you guys lose power when you actually agree to minimum wage. And I want you to transform minimum wage to that industry or that corporate's wage. And here's the sad part. All they're doing is realizing you're going to be upset. Look, come on, man. We made $7 billion free cash flow last year. We returned $3 billion of that to the shareholders. We gave our employees $300 million. And we call it profit sharing. And yes, they're going to be taxed on it. And the way our taxes work, we're going to get the best option. So all that is a game, because ultimately they know you're going to be frustrated, okay? It's the battle of the half and the have-nots. They know you're going to be frustrated, and they know they have to make it seem like these are all your ideas. These are you standing up for the industry. So when the actors go on strike, when the writers go on strike, and they say, hey, guys, this is not fair. We demand you big corporations do right by us and do as we say. Then they be like, all right, we cave in. And then people think that they punked the big corporations. No, they always had you in a budget. They just had you to get to their number. They just had to get you to their number, and then they all follow suit. All you're doing is putting a cap on what you're willing to take, and they have unlimited upside. Do you realize that they continue to have unlimited upside after all these negotiations? All right, we'll give you more money. And then you guys think that those record profits that they made that year, that they're not going to make record profits in the future, that y'all not going to be tied to yet? The ultimate point is this. Don't ever think it's your idea. Know that they're playing the game, and know that they're winning the game. And the only way for you to actually win the game is for you to get on the winning team. Now, objectively, I would tell you this. Understanding that minimum wage is the destruction of society. It removes the power of the people and puts the power into the corporations and the politics. People will tell you all kind of stupid things, right? Let me give you the examples. If there's no minimum wage, then they'll make us work for $1, sir. If you believe that the markets, right? Oh, my bad. My brother Spence said profit sharing is 150 million between 50,000 people. I was using arbitrary numbers, Spence. I'm glad you actually know the exact numbers. Almost sounds worse when you say it like that, huh? I try to give 300 to 400 million. But now you kind of understand where I'm going with this. That's the cap on them. Don't ever confuse a victory for something that you think you earned when they are. It's like taking a dive. Like, you wrestling with your kid and your kid give you the stone cold stunner. You're like, oh, and they get the 1, 2, 3. And you like, yeah, my son beat me. You took the dive. You let them in. You let them win. You want them to believe that it's them when ultimately you're the puppet master. You're ultimately pulling the strings. So I'm going to encourage y'all to really pay attention to what's going on. Know that companies all have a baseline. And here's the thing. Listen to the language, right? I know you guys are not big on listening to these conference calls and, these earning calls and things like that. When they say things like these are up to date with industry standards, that's intentional. Industry, for you guys, for your minds to wrap around it, is minimum wage. Industry standard is minimum wage standard. It's just corporate language. It's all they're doing to find a way to manipulate and control the people once again. Now, you know me, mindset-wise, I'm pro business owner because I understand the game. I'm never mad at the workers that want to fight for their rights, but I just want you to be informed and actually know how to fight and what you're fighting for. So ultimately, what the solution is that you will always have a cap if you're working. If you're the worker, there's going to be a cap on you. You're going to always be upset with management and the big bosses because they have unlimited upside. Like, for example, Netflix stock had went up like 16% after their last earnings call. It was really good, right? If that stock continues to go up, all of those executives who compensation is pretty much tied to the performance of that stock, it's all upside for them. But you guys already signed the deal. You're capped. You're capped. So when people are raving over this deal and thinking that they ultimately won, you didn't beat them. You played right into their hands. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the game. Go watch the strike 5-10 years ago. Watch the one 10-20 years ago. The game is the exact same thing. The only difference is the players change. They've been using the same concept and the same thing over and over again. So for me watching it, I think it's interesting and funny to watch play out as I can see people in real life having these issues. And I'm like, man, you guys don't see this? So it is what it is. What do you think, Granville? What are your thoughts?
When you break it down, it almost sounds to me like, well, this how I correlate it. Like, take the Patrick Mahomes deal from a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a 7-year, 500 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some crazy number. But when that quarterback market started moving around 2021, and you had like Deshaun Watson getting that 45, Lamar getting that money, they actually had to come back to the table. I think it was last year, and actually give him an extension on the money that they gave him. That everybody's raving like, look at this ridiculous contract that Patrick Mahomes had just signed. But what the Chiefs did was they took it to him earlier and gave him this number up front. But damn near 2 years later, the market had inflated so high that the 45 million he was making a year for his expertise and his field, it was almost like the Chiefs were getting a steal at that point. So they had to come back to the drawing board and actually add more money into that contract and give them an extension. But what I'm getting with these union workers is, okay, you got the $40, but it's like you're almost at a salary to where if they make over what if they make you make the 40, but they're making 2,300 when they were making 15 before, and you get none of that extra money now. It's like I think it's like a losing deal. It's almost like quarterbacks. Like I remember in the day back in the day, like 2009, 2010, people were looking at quarterbacks signing $100 million contract, $20 million a year. Like Jesus Christ is so high, but it's essentially it sounds like what they did was okay. Since we gave them $100 million last 4 years ago, we'll give you 105, 106 now. Just set a quote unquote new industry standard. You won the most. You run the record. You're the highest paid now. But when you look at it, they barely moved to the market. Oh, you on mute, Aaron?
Well, when you look at it, it's harder to use athletes because they make such an insane amount of money.
I was just saying how it worked, like the market, how it worked.
Oh no, yeah, of course. The way you say it, of course. The thing is though, you never be the reason why these business owners, when it comes to the NFL in particular, when they finally sell that team, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, yeah. When you're talking about the owners and stuff. Yeah, like you could take what team was that?
Washington.
Washington. Didn't he buy that team for like I think it was like 400 million when he bought it? When he first bought it, and he just sold it what it was like 5 or 6, something around there. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
On top of, and somebody can look it up, NFL owners on average generate around, I want to say 300 million.
They damn near generate damn near double of the salary cap of the players.
Yeah. And that's each owner. Each owner is taking home around somewhere around 150, 300 million, and some even higher. Like the Cowboys have their own specialized, like unique agreement when it comes to merchandising and things like that. So that theirs is directly separate from other owners. But for the most part, they're bringing in like 300 million as the owners yearly from concessions and all the things that they own. Plus the value of the business, the enterprise keeps rising, right? And so even when you look at that, you go, man, that's crazy. But when you look at the rest of us that's down here and you see deals like this and people are raving over it, right? And then you realize, guys, you're just going to go play the same game. Like
that's a fact. The NFL has the same problem. What is it? The NFL Players Association? Like it's like they always try to losing battle with the cap. With them, it's always like they're fighting a losing battle. They can never. It's almost like, like if you take for instance, the last time they because I know what you're talking about. I don't really know the mechanics and stuff for like industry like this. I just watch football a lot, so I know at the last time when they were coming to the agreement, they just set the cap to where it was that year and just incentivized it. I think by 7 to 8% every year after that. But that's not keeping up with the money that these NFL teams are making now. They cap the players. They've capped the players.
But this is the thing. Nobody will care about them. NFL players can't go. NFL players can't go on strike. NBA players can't go on strike because they make so much money compared to the average person that they don't get the sympathy clause. Nobody's going to sympathize with no NFL players, MLB players fighting for more money. Yes, they're going to be like, yeah, you guys should pay them more, but they don't care. But when you start to come down to the things that really matter, because that's the, ancient Roman arenas, the Coliseum can, confuse everybody and play sports to make y'all forget about what's going on in the real world. And in the real world, what's happening is this. Every time you get a raise, ultimately, all they have done is bring you right back to where you thought inflation is supposed to be for your life. The buying power of the money that you just negotiated is no different than it was a few years ago before rapid inflation came apart. So you're not actually getting an actual raise because if these corporations actually gave you a raise, and this is what you guys got to understand, it's not personal. It's the only way the game can continue. I have to give you just enough rope so you can run on this hamster wheel. But if I give you too much, you can buy your own hamster wheel and don't need to run on mine.
Right. And
So
I have this question for you too, Aaron.
yeah.
Like, does this union actually work like the UPS union? Because I know at UPS, they can't even work overtime, bro. They barely get overtime or anything. Like that extra pay, all that, all is worked into their hours, salary, and all that. Can these people even work overtime if they wanted to?
It's whatever the agreement per the industry, because the UAW covers more than just the auto industry. They cover other industries as well. The problem is if it's in the contract that they negotiated, yes, you'll be capped at overtime, and a lot of times they are. So it's very possible. That's why they bring temp workers to keep costs down and things like that. So yeah, they're not playing this game to lose. They can only pay you enough money to you to stop complaining, but they cannot pay. All right, they cannot finance your freedom. This is the whole point that people need to understand. Your job cannot finance your freedom. And ultimately, what people genuinely want is to make enough money so they don't have to be dependent on their job. However, those jobs won't exist in general without people being dependent on them. It just won't work. So that's ultimately what I'm watching happening. It's I won't say I'm sad, but I just think that people think this is a victory. This is a win. And ultimately, it will not be.
You make it sound like they gave them enough just to say, all right, I can live with this. That's what it sounds. Well, like the way you break it down in my ears, it sounds like, okay, Ford just gave them what they knew they could live with, and that could keep them quiet for a little while until we come back to the table.
Well, that's exactly what happened because they just talked about the strike of the 2019, right?
Yeah.
So they've done it before. Orchid, Eat a Man show, that's tomorrow. He does Thursdays, right? This is the last minute impromptu show. So you have to understand that's the only thing it can be, because you know they're not going to give you enough money to be free. They're going to give you just enough money to where you think about it. If you made enough money, most people not coming back to work, bro.
That's a fact.
And I don't care what nobody say, man. If I made a lot of money, I still want to work. Yeah,
No.
want to work. But when you pissed off, when you angry, Orchid said this Thursday, where you at, Orchid? So when you're upset and you're angry and you don't want to work no more, if you had the power, you'd walk out. But when you need your job and you're a little angry, you just
gonna shut up. You'll shut up.
Suck it up and like it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. I got to do it. What else I'm gonna do?
Exactly. And so ultimately, like that's what I'm gonna see occurring. So it's just little stuff like that I'm watching, and I think this deal ratified. A lot of people think that this is benefiting them, but they're going to have this across industry standards. So now this is why it's disheartening. Do you think now that you could possibly make $40, the top workers at the end of the 4.5 year, you think you're gonna be able to buy a house now?
Probably not. Well, depending on what you do, Aaron. Depending on what you do.
But here's the thing. They don't mind you buying a house. You know why? For most people, that's more of a burden on your life. You got to pay for that. Like I was just telling somebody the other day, I said, I was talking to my coworker, and I said, and I think a house just randomly popped up on my feed. I was researching something else, right? And she was like, "You're moving to Texas?" I said, "Yeah, sure, right." And it had the price. The price was like $400,000 or $500,000, right? And she was like, "Oh, the house looks really nice." I said, "That's the problem, people. They fall in love with the look of a house, right? Do you know what that house looks like to most people when you walk in this nice house? The only thing of value exists is if your woman make you forget that you paying so much to live in this nice house. Could you imagine you coming home? Yeah, gotta pay for this every day. It's more of a
some
struggle.
people do that, bro. Some people do that. Like some people, like a lot of people pull up to their house, they sit in their car and they look at it like, damn, this mortgage about to be due in 2 weeks.
And you know what typically makes you feel better? If you come into a house and you have a family or you have a woman there that make you forget you paying so much for this house.
and it makes you want to get up and go do it all over again.
Yes, pretty much. So that's what I thought about it. It was just fun.
Podcast.
Don't do that, because you know podcast is all about destroying the people and making them work forever. Okay, that's what he do.
That's a fact.
I can't stay long, Aaron. I just wanted to deliver some bad news, man. Damn. I just found out that Aaron O is a piece of shit. This nigga, this whole time, I knew that he knew it. I told y'all he knew it. And now he just confessed it. Let me hurry up and go clip it before he take the video down. He just said it. It's not that they're not going to pay you enough money because it's going to hurt the business financially. They don't want to pay you enough money because they want to keep you on the goddamn hamster wheel. Thank you for finally admitting it. You thought you was going to get away with it because I wasn't up here, but I be listening from the clouds.
I hate to tell you, but I've been telling people that. Like, if you go watch old Fight Club, like, I know your job is not supposed to finance your freedom. It's not. You're supposed to finance your freedom, and you're supposed to utilize your job to then make other decisions and other deals to get your freedom. But your job ain't gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna help you with this freedom. No. So yeah, I do. I 100% agree that like these jobs are about keeping you on the hamster wheel because they won't exist if you don't do the work. I'm not ignorant to the point of how important workers are to businesses excelling. Sure.
No, you just think bashing them and making them feel like pieces of shit about themselves is the way to keep them in line.
No, because they don't listen. They don't listen to the truth. So it's more fun for them to feel like they can argue with somebody that actually know what's happening. And then they're like, well, at least I feel better. You might feel better after the conversation. But the truth of the matter is when this conversation ends, if you do not listen, you're going to go back to doing the same thing you've been doing for the last 30, 40 years. And it ain't worked. And I'm giving the mindset of knowing what's actually occurring and you deciding how you want to navigate knowing it. So when you really pay attention, this strike, I don't think strikes actually work. But I think it makes people feel empowered that they have the ability to affect business. And at the end of the day, now this guy got on TV and he said, yo, we got an historic deal. We made them pony up the money. Do you know how good a broke person feels making it seem like they son a billionaire or son multi-millionaires? Like, yeah, I made you do something. You know how good that makes somebody feels that's usually feels stepped on by them?
But they said carried in front of the donkey, huh?
See, man, ain't nobody finna look. Aaron O ain't finna knock me off my trail. He knows, and I always knew that he knew that corporations are racist, and they don't care about you. They just want you there. He also knows that workers are important.
Yep.
Because let's just, well, I don't know if they more, because you would think that the customers are probably the most important part, right? But if you couldn't facilitate their request, then it wouldn't make a difference. But then if you had a whole bunch of workers and no customers to facilitate to, then that would be stupid as hell. Yeah. So I don't know. But I do know now I have a great talking point to charge full throttle at the conservative douchebag debate because $20 an hour don't get you off the hamster wheel.
That's a fact.
So therefore, they can still give out the 20.
Oh yeah.
But time out.
Hold on, Bill. No. I wanted to seek in his head. You're 100% right. Just like when you checked your girl and she knows she wrong and she say, I know I'm wrong, but and she say but and you like, why you saying but? Because she knows she dead wrong, but she gotta say but because she don't want to feel like she's feeling. Look, we don't want y'all to think that it's that easy to get this money. So we gonna fight tooth and nail so that y'all feel empowered. Could you imagine if you walked into your boss and said, "Look, give me a raise right now," and your boss go, "Here you go, have a good day." You like, that was too easy. I should ask for more. How much really do I am I worth now? So yes, I got to make it seem like it's your idea and that you fought for this. Because when people fight for something, they value it more and they appreciate it. So yes, fight for that 20. We gonna cave in because y'all tougher than the rich people and y'all won. That's the psychology of it.
Oh, that's a fact. That's a fact, Aaron. If you could get somebody to do something and make them think that they're doing it for the betterment of themselves, like they're getting over, if you can convince them that this is for the betterment of them and you could get them to do it without having to pay more than what it's really worth, it's a hell of a talent. It's a hell of a talent. But podcast, back to your $20 an hour podcast, and I'm gonna say this. It doesn't matter if you made $20 or $60, bro, an hour. If you living up and over that, it really doesn't matter at that point.
Absolutely.
It really doesn't matter. If people aren't paying themselves to get them out of the situation that they're in, because essentially jobs are a means to an end, right? It has to end somewhere. So you have to plan for that end. And people don't do that. They don't. So at that point,
So
it really
you're
doesn't matter how much
100%
money they
correct.
get. Huh?
No, you're 100. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah. You're 100% correct, right? I would argue don't punish the smart people for what the dumb people do, but you're 100% correct still. But my thing is this, right? It's only because of the fact that everything else is going up. You got to do what you got to do, right? I believe this is why I be arguing with the conservative douchebags about this whole idea that, oh, black people could get together and do the same things that the quote unquote small hats do, or the Asians do, or whatever it would be. This is like, no, motherfucker, it's not. Historically, you have seen that this is not possible. No matter what, for whatever reason, when we have tried, something happened. And it all was done intentionally. It wasn't like something just magically happened. Something was intentionally done to impede that sort of progress, because you cannot have uh, a demographic that was designed specifically, right, to be left out of the so-called American dream, that was designed specifically to be a working class, which is now deemed useless at this point. We don't need you. We can't trust you, because if you reach a certain plateau, it's going to undermine everything that we got going on. Not to mention the fact, because of the way that the game is played, the more people who reach success, the less valuable the money actually is, which is another reason why we have the induced inflation. It's a suckers. And then look, it all boils down to the fact that the people at top are greedy. It just really, it like, Aaron don't like it when I say that, because it's more context to it. That's just true. But it's not wrong though. That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, right? Because
Mhm.
greedy is not. I don't have an issue with you perceiving them to be greedy, right? But what you're saying is they don't want to share, right? Just like I think when you make your money that you feel you worked hard for, you don't want to share, and so ultimately they thought we come into agreement. You agree to work for this. Now that I'm making all this insane money, you're jealous because I have way more money than you. You still have your money, but I have way more money than you. And you look and go, hey, I'm doing all this work for your company and you're making way more money. Share some of that with me. And they're like, no, because what happens when they share money with people, people give that money back to them. See, the problem is that's what people do with money. No matter if you're making 100,000, 250,000, there are people that are living crazy lifestyle, just giving that money right back, just giving that money right back. Yes, you can argue they're greedy. I don't want to get hung up on that. It's the actions of people making them rich. People are making them rich and are upset that they're doing it. That's the only problem I have. Go ahead.
That's right, a fact, bro. Because you literally make the money. You literally make the money to spend the money. That's what a lot of people do. You get paid, you spend all your money. And most of the time, the money that you spend are going back into these billion-dollar corporations. And that essentially gives them the money that you just earned. That gives them more money. The only way to stop that, what I guess, would be to stop spending your money. But people gotta live though. But people don't do right by their money also.
Here's the uncomfortable conversation. Who says you gotta live, like enjoy your life? Argumentatively, all you need to have is some food, transportation, and a place, some was it shelter over your head. That's it. Who told you you get to enjoy life? Who told you you get to fly to other countries and all this? Who told you that?
Nobody.
No. So why do people think that if their rent is paid and they getting back and forth to work and they got food to eat, they should have anything beyond that?
The internet.
Because Puerto Rican women are beautiful, so they deserve more. Black women are
Hold on,
thick,
time out. That's
so they
that's
deserve more.
disingenuous podcast. I'm using the word on you. Disingenuous.
It's disadvantageous.
Listen,
Hold on.
Wow.
So look, this is what I'm this is what I'm saying though, right? So that's a good point that you made. However, I don't think the majority of people are really looking for that, because most people just want to be able to hide their crib, their car, they woman, they little bratty kids, make sure they got enough food, and then like be able to save some money and have some money. So like if they just think they want to do something, because most of the time that's what it comes down to. I can't tell you how many years I heard my mom made good money. And I can't tell you how many times I heard my mom say, "Yeah, I'm going to Vegas this year," and it never happened. Right. And then
that's
one
called,
year it popped up about 8 years after saying I'm gonna do it and actually did it.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I get that part, right? Now here's the part that I've learned to accept about reality, right? You are penalized for your bad decisions. And for your good decisions, you get a benefit. The problem is you might not necessarily know when that negative impact will hit. You could make a bad decision 3 years ago and it didn't catch up with you yet. But 3 years later, and in the wrong uh state of mind, the wrong time, you get hit with that. Wow. Oh man, what happened? Yeah, you know that thing that happened 3 years ago? Yeah, it's catching up with me now. Word. Right now, you going through it? Yeah, so it's compounding.
That's how a
People's
lot. Oh my bad.
people's negative decisions have a compounding effect. We only talk about compounding money a lot of the times. Your positive decisions have a compounding effect. People make a lot of bad decisions young, and some others don't. Like I'll get to a certain age, I'll deal with a minimum amount of women, like 0 to 2, right? And I'll be considered not a ladies' man, but I won't mess up all my money. I'll manage my money well. I don't need to travel all across the world, and I'll just stack my money for years on years on year. While you want to mess with all the chicks, and you want to, you got to smell good, you got to have a nice car. You're gonna fund it because that's your enjoyment. So now when we hit 40, all those financial decisions hitting you rapidly at 40, because now you slowing down a little bit. You ran all them chicken heads away. You're like, man, it's kind of boring me now. I want to do something else, but you ain't got the funds for it. You ain't got the mentality for it. You ain't got the discipline for it. On the flip side, now I can travel wherever I want. And now I'm like, I take 2, 3 chicks. Like the compounding effects happen all throughout life, but we don't really understand the gravity of the decisions that we make. I always sit back and go, how is it a woman can get from 18 to 30 with no kids, and another woman can have 7 kids by the time she's 30? And
This
she's struggling with 7. And that girl thriving, she living life. Now, she might not have a boyfriend, whatever the case is, and she may not necessarily be happy, but financially, she ain't living that. So you lose and you gain in a lot of areas. It's an effect that you have to deal with. And
that's a
so
fact.
based upon the
Decisions.
you make.
Just like some people forget to pay that $1,500 IRS bill you had, and they let that slip for 7 years, and they come back knocking on your door with that letter with them late fees and interest charges. Yeah, you thought they forgot. Woo!
So that's kind of how I look at it. What do you think, podcast? You ain't at the jacuzzi no more. I can hear it.
Who you talking to? Me?
Mm-hmm.
It sound like a snack. He eating that popcorn right now, that big ass bag of popcorn.
Yeah, he ain't at the jacuzzi no more.
No, I had to go let my lady in real quick. Some of you niggas might not never know nothing about. No. Okay, so
Damn,
here's
that hurt,
all I'm saying.
podcast.
Huh?
That hurt, bro.
Shut up. About that hurt. Okay, let me just say this on Front Street. Ali asked me to make him a beat. I did it. I sent him a raw version. He didn't respond to me. I got the finished version. Anybody want it, holler at me because he ain't responding. And I'm not giving him this beat for free. You don't request me to do something and then think I'm gonna give it to you for free. It's not gonna happen. So, got a raw beat on deck if you want to sell it. That's my reverse psychology. So when Ali hit it, come on, Beans, don't sell it, bro. Let me get that, bro.
You trying to make money on that beat podcast? I thought you was for the people. Help a brother out.
No, I don't get super chats. I got to get something. So here's the thing, because I want to use that as an analogy, right? If this is even better now that Logic up here because now I got 4 people. So Aaron O, Granville, Prolific, and Mr. Logic all make beats, right? I say, yo, I need this album done. I need 8 beats. Each one of y'all make me a beat. Y'all say, man, listen, I charge $5,000 a beat, right? So I got to give each one of y'all 10 bands. Now I give y'all the 10 bands for your beat, right? I'm giving you an analogy of how Aaron O always argues with me about the conservative douchebagness, right? So here it go. So now I give y'all the 10 bands for the beats. I rap on the songs. I sell it. The album make 10 million. Now y'all coming back like, man, bro, we need to have a little bit more money, you know what I'm saying, than what you paid us because it did this well, right? And then I'm saying, nah, son, you know, y'all said y'all charge this much for the beat. That's what it is, blah, blah, blah. That's all you get, right? To a certain degree, I would understand that, right? To a certain degree, I would understand. But at the same time, to me, I feel like that's why they had a thing called points and all of that. You pay a certain money and then you give a person a certain amount of money off the album just in case it does more, right? If it reaches a certain status, if it does a certain much, then they get to make some more money off of it, right? So
but why
you got a business
up front podcast?
No, let him get.
Wait,
him
hold on.
My bad.
Because if you got a business and you start off, let's go with Amazon. You know, you start off doing your thing or whatever. It is what it is, and then it turn into Amazon. Yeah, man, shadow wealth. Yeah, bro. Listen, this is what we gonna do. I'm gonna hire y'all. Hey, listen. Right now, we generating $1 billion a year, so I'm gonna pay y'all $15 an hour. Coming through the door, everybody, it is what it is. Okay, look, I'm telling y'all now, if we get up to $5 billion a year, everybody gonna get a pay raise of such and such and such. Everybody gonna jump to 17. Okay, y'all, if we get to 10, you see what I'm saying? Because the reason why is we know the inflation is coming. We know it's coming. There's no way around that. It's coming. So why not, when you have that kind of business with that kind of upside, generating that kind of revenue,
I tell you,
what I'm saying? Be able to say, I'm gonna take care of y'all regardless to keep up with inflation.
I have your answer. It's very, very simple answers, right? It's kind of like the respect that a woman gets for being with a man when he was dead broke, and they show you the footage of them growing up and he making all this money and he retiring his mom. His girl don't ever have to work no more. She been with me from the gutter. And then a new girl coming in and everybody's screaming, hey, you better get a prenup. She ain't earned that. So when you speak about businesses, right, most of them fail. And the problem is, if you don't invest in this, you don't benefit from it. So what you're saying is that if you get some workers, they should have a lot of the upside, but none of the downside. Now, if you're saying that these people are bleeding money just like you, when you go bankrupt, right? You get hit, you 7 years in the hole, you can't own it. Like, they destroy they destroy your credit score. Like they destroy you. Like people literally never come back from bankruptcies a lot of the time. We don't talk about this. People never come back from bankruptcies sometimes. So you're talking about people that have invested in businesses before because they heard, dang, what if this business pop and they make billions? I can get some upside. But then they lose all their money. And people go, I don't want to do that. This is why most people prefer they hourly wage because they don't want the downside to go, hey, last quarter, guys, we didn't make enough money. So y'all usually make $20 an hour. We gonna cut that down to $10 an hour, and we got to retroactively take that money from y'all. They gonna flip. So you don't get the upside unless you're a business partner, and that's just the truth. You cannot have a desire for somebody who is not as invested in something as you, that's worked as hard as you, for them to benefit on that more than within they're willing to invest into it. If you're willing to invest your time for this X amount of dollars and you don't want none of the upside, that's on you. But I'm willing to work for free so I get all of the upside. So it's dependent on the person. So that's how I look at it.
Shoot, what I preach all the time. Couldn't agree more.
I think the way podcast looks at it is about.
Know. Oh, my mic was muted. My bad.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, I don't know how much them guys from the UAW gonna get. What is UAW? Is that useless African women?
Don't take no shots at no women
Oh,
over here. It's not a show about women.
I know a UAW is an unlawful armed weaponizer, something like that. I'm just trying to figure out which one it is because I want to know how much money they're gonna get.
So I don't know how contractually it works for them. They might not
that's the auto industry, right?
Well, they cover more than the auto industry. They're in a lot of different industries, but they are more known for the auto industry's fights. But if you go back and watch it, they fight for other industries as well. I just don't remember all of them.
So is it even in 2020? Yeah, I was about to ask a dumbass question. I was about to ask, is it even possible that anybody under the umbrella of an auto worker wouldn't be making $20 an hour? But of course they are. Of course they are. I mean, yeah, I could see it in my head right now. If I tried to go to Ford, because Kentucky is Ford country down this month. If I try to go to Ford right now, I guarantee you they got some $14, $15, $16, $17 an hour type jobs. I mean, and that's the whole thing about it. Down here in Kentucky, that's not even enough no more, really. Like, not if you, I don't know. Wait, 17. What's 17 for the year? 17 times 20.
Probably like 38,
80.
39.
35. That's 35. So 35 monthly, that's 29.46. If you are a young single person, it's probably doable. You know what I'm saying? Maybe.
Wait, what's doable? 29,
like
a year?
2,900 a month. It's probably
29.
doable if you like a really young, somewhere in between 18 and 28. If you somewhere in between there and you making 35, you put a few hours here and there on the overtime side, you get it up to 40. To get it up to 40, right? You probably be looking at about a little $3,000 a month. It's okay if you in that age range, you don't got no kids, you ain't, you don't got no expensive taste really. You starting out, you just building up. That's pretty much average. But the problem is, again, you're 1 week of missed work, something bad happened, something happened with your car, that's gonna cost you $900 and all this type of stuff to get it fixed. It's like you one of those episodes away from it being problematic if you don't have, what they call it, investment type things in place. If you don't have savings accounts, money marketing accounts, all these different things. Like if you don't have things in place where you have stuff going specifically to areas where you can pull from if need be, if you just doing like the average person, which is going to work or whatever, That's how that happens. And then you're going to see very little savings. So it's going to make it feel like almost like you working for nothing.
Okay,
Even though you're paying your rent, paying your light, paying your gas, paying your car note, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So here's the problem. Shout out to Drake Miller. He sent the first super chat of the day. Says the tentative agreement UAW, which was first reported earlier by CNBC, includes a 25% pay increases over the terms of the agreement. I think it ultimately gets bumped up to 30%. Because I think they have a cost of living adjustment as well. But shout out to you, Drake Miller. Here's the problem, podcast. Let's just say that I agree to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
The way I look at it is this. I know that's what's happening, so I'm going to get a second job. Because I know most people have been complaining about this and nothing ever changes. So I could either go, if I complain enough or get enough other people to complain, maybe they'll change it. And I check the history and go, they don't. And I say, well, working one job ain't going to work. So I'm probably going to have to work two to give myself that breathing room or that edge so I actually can create some savings. Because if I'm sustaining myself with one job, then I can work enough to get that so-called nest egg to where I have more flexibility. No one has told people that they only have to work 40 hours. They just have been told if you do work 40 hours, that's considered a full work week and you get certain benefits under the law. It don't cap you, but it does cap you at a limited lifestyle if you choose to only work that amount of hours. If you don't understand that, why could you not understand somebody that works 7 days a week, that is a CEO of a startup or built-up company that don't work a regular 40-hour work and they work 80 hours unpaid, 90 hours always on call for years and they don't turn a profit? And they had to go to school to study engineering in order to think about this type of stuff. They're able to build these things, to make a product, to get the investment money, all these things. And they don't get to enjoy none of the strip clubs that y'all get to go to. They don't get to enjoy none of the trips. They ain't traveled nowhere because they've been grinding so hard.
Boy, you preaching.
Why don't you understand that then they are going to, the reason that they're willing to do all that is because the reward is so great.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Because at what point do you get to take a break? Not even, matter of fact, let me rephrase that question. Not take a break. And I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. Not take a break. At what point do you get to stop? Like, don't get it twisted. It's just the same thing that I'm telling my kids right now. But sometimes I wonder when I'm telling them, am I coming across as phony because it's not something I'm implementing in my own life? Like, I tell them, listen, you're young. This is the time. This is the time right now while you're young to go ahead and give up, 50, 60, 70 hours a week of your time to chase this money, stack it up, investments, and set yourself up so that when you look up 18, 20 years from now, you can have some things going for yourself and you can really dive into whatever it is that you really want to do outside of working for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling them that, me personally, I don't think I got enough time to do that kind of strategy. So I'm not really focused on that. But to me, it's like, if they gonna keep moving the damn goalposts, like, bro, a couple of years ago, you could have legitimately had, and it's far-fetched, but you could have legitimately had 20, 30,000. And I'm talking about jump head first into the real estate game. And then boom, pandemic, inflation, PPP loans, everything else to make everything cost more money. It was buildings, 4-unit buildings, Aaron, 4-unit buildings in Louisville, Kentucky that I was looking at that was going for like 60, 50, 60. Them same buildings right now, 110, 120. A lot of them, they won't even sell them because they just waiting on the market to keep going up so the value can keep going up so they can get more for it.
Well,
right?
they're not willing to sell right now is because the demand is high. But if you have let's just say you have a loan on it, right? And let's assume that you're not upside down in it, right? You have a lot of equity there. if you sell where you currently live, or you sell something that you're occupying, and you have to move somewhere else, and you have to get a loan for it because maybe you upgrade and not necessarily downgrade to something extremely smaller, you're going to get a new loan on it. Instead of having a loan that has 3.25% rate, you're getting a 7.5% rate. They gonna wait. They not gonna sell right now. So that's why we're people are sitting on record equity right now, and they're refusing to move because it's not advantageous for them to leave where they're currently at to get a rate that's higher than what they're currently paying. So that's why that they're refusing to sell right now in most of the cases.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. On my old computer, I got so many buildings and stuff that I was looking at. I got to the point, Aaron, I was so good, I could literally eyeball the what is it called? The rehabilitation costs. Right? All I just tell me how many square feet, right? I can look at it, see what need to be done. Like I was studying and going into it that deeply, bro, because I was like, something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. I don't know how I'm gonna get this money. I'm gonna get a chance to get another bag, and I'm gonna be able to get in here. I started talking to different hard money lenders, started trying to build relationships. The cash ain't here yet. It's on the way. I was lying. Yeah, I got a settlement coming. I ain't had no settlement, nothing, right? But I wanted them to think the money was on the way, right? So that they would be honest with me. And I'm talking about by the time the money came, it was over with. Everything was up, doubled or tripled. It was ridiculous, bro. Even down here. And Kentucky used to be one of the number one spots in the country to get the most for your money as it pertains to property. It still probably is because I don't know if I ever asked you this, but inflation is countrywide, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so if it's inflation one place, it's inflation everywhere. It's not
Well, it's not to the same degree though.
Right. It might not be so you saying like if California gets 7%, everywhere else don't get the same 7?
Okay, so I can tell you,
so
I can tell you this podcast, like
okay.
the housing market. Like, say for instance, I'm in New Orleans, right?
Mm-hmm.
The housing inflation down here hit between 10 and 11, but where my brother is in Austin, it hit in this area between 22 and 28%. So it depends on where you at in the country. It goes up everywhere, but depending on where you are, it can be higher or lower.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember I was looking in Toledo, Ohio, and it was like I didn't know if the market was even good enough to put the investment in there. You see what I'm saying?
Well, this is the thing. The fear of making these investments separates people. And this is why when you say they could own a business, you keep telling them to sacrifice. Most people cannot see that they're going to be successful and are not willing to take that risk. So they're going to just play it safe. I'm going to just work my job, take a little vacation here and there. If I don't become a billionaire, oh well. But I want the billionaire to share their money with me because I helped them become a billionaire. Most workers are not actually helping those people become billionaires. It's the consumers, because the only way you're going to be able to be a billionaire is if you have scale.
Right.
So like even if I have 10,000 workers, I need millions of customers frequently and repetitively to frequent my business consistently. And I could turn over workers year after year. Podcast worked for me 1 year and left. I got another worker. You can't tell me that you made me become a billionaire in 1 year and then somebody else came out and kept switching off. That's just not the truth. It's the customers. But ultimately, the workers are a huge component, but they have to realize this is the game. And the only way to change the game is for everybody to walk off of business the same day and everybody stand in solidarity and nobody goes to work. It's the only way to stop the game. Once that actually ever occurs, the game will be over. There will be a new game that has to be invented then. But nobody can foresee that occurring because nobody is brave enough to not even show up to work tomorrow if everybody else don't agree to do it. So it's just listen, play the game, learn the game, and learn how to win the game that's best for you. That's what I tell people to do.
That's why they're starting to automate everything now. Get those workers out of there.
Yep. Salute, Aaron, man. This is my first time here, man. I've been watching Fight Club and Anton and all of that, man. But my first time here, but I did work for a union that shut down the company. I was working for Pepsi,
Mm,
and we was a union company, a union. Well, I put it like this: our facility, it was union
mhm.
mainly because of our production department. The warehouse didn't have that many union employees,
Okay.
but the production department had a lot of union employees. Now we also got had a facility in Nashville. I'm in Memphis, and they had a facility in Nashville that was non-union all the way. All right. So when it came for negotiation time, we negotiated the first year. We pushed hard, told them what we wanted. And we, did all that mumbo jumbo. They gave it to us, but right after they gave us that raise and all of that, they slowly start dialing down on production. You see what I'm saying? And we was getting more stuff shipped in from Nashville facility than we was making for our own customers. So once I started seeing the writing on the wall, I sort of knew they weren't investing much money in the infrastructure of the company. So I sort of knew that the writing was on the wall, but I hung there and I stayed there because I had a pretty good job. I had worked my way up, you know what I'm saying? Having my own little thing, office and everything. So I didn't really want to leave the job, but I knew the writing was on the wall. And one day they had the big CEOs come in, and they told us to go home and come back the next day for a meeting. And basically they told us that they were shutting down operation. So that's how they do it. Even though the union sometimes it look like you got what you want, but all they gonna do is scale down production and sort of move it around. That's how we got so many companies that went overseas, because the money wasn't matching up. They could pay people over there to make the same product for less cost. So when you drive that cost up on the payroll end, companies tend to scale down on their production, or they raise up the cost of the product to the shelves, which hurt the consumer. And as the consumer start, if a Ford Fusion get up to $70,000, won't nobody buy it. So it automatically gonna kill the company back down anyway. So it's sort of like you said, it all works together. But I honestly seen that happen and watched how they did it, and I was against it from day one, but hey, I'm a union employee. You know what I'm saying? You got to roll with the group. So, now I'm not a union employee, and I don't really never want to work for a union again, honestly.
Mm.
And the business is gonna always win at the end of the day, no matter the circumstances.
Yep. Even with all the grievances and stuff like that you can use against for the union. At the end of the day, man, when the union starts seeing what's going on, they start siding with the company on a lot of stuff. So the union really don't, you paying their money for. I mean, if you're a person that go to work and obey the rules and do your job, you really don't have to worry about getting fired. It only works for people who lazy and always looking for a loophole out of doing their job. That's what the union really helps.
Well, that's kind of a good point to a certain degree. The union does assist the people that are a little lazy, that want to manipulate the system and just get their money, cheat all the good days, not work the hardest. But however, that's part of the game, because most people are going to work with people that are less productive than them. And they are. And you can dislike them or you can just play the game. And so that's what I think a lot of people do. People work with coworkers right now in the same position that they're better than. Do
That's a
they go?
Yeah.
fact.
Do they go to management and say, "Hey, my name is JJ Carvel, and I demand you pay Michelle less money because we work the same job, we get paid, and I'm better, and I work better. Pay her less money or pay me more money." Do you know how much that will destroy the so-called working environment?
Yeah.
That'll make
Yeah.
that shit vicious.
And that was another thing, because the management had to have so much, they had to have so much of a backlog, or they had to have a paper trail of what you was doing in order to get rid of you.
Mhm.
It made it harder to get rid of bad employees, but it also made management, you never felt like y'all on the same team. It always felt like it's management and then it's workers, and they always at each other's throat. The workers always trying to take a shot at a manager, and the manager gonna never not take a shot at an employee. So all of it just created a real bad environment. But luckily, I was in a department where I was pretty much over receiving, and I didn't have many people above me, under me, or nothing. So I could sort of, but I seen the writing on the wall, man. I seen it coming. Like I literally, like, I could tell when they stopped investing money and they stopped giving us the hours. It was only because they gave us what we wanted on their contract. So now on the back end, they played the game raw. You see what I'm saying?
Well, ultimately, what do you think is going to be beneficial for people? Do you think people benefit from having a minimum wage?
No,
No.
no. I think that. I mean, I think everybody should be paid according to their experience, their education, and their talent and their work ethic. Period.
Okay, a
I
lot of
feel like
that.
that's a oh,
Yeah, that's a whole lot. Think about it. If you have an education but you've done absolutely nothing, why would I pay you?
That's what you got to weigh out. Sometimes the one with the biggest education is not the best for the job. You got to, I think jobs sort of have to really know how to target if it's gonna be like that. But as long as they got this minimum wage, they just slap minimum wage on it. Hey, if you don't work out in 90 days, we get rid of them, do it another time. You know what I'm saying? So it creates like a non-incentive to do your job the right way or do better or strive for more. So I think that's the whole thing. The incentive to do more is what minimum wage takes away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody gonna do too much if all they getting is minimum wage.
I feel like it's not the company fault. It's more of a personal issue. You know what I'm saying? Regarding the employee. You know, the job can't, dictate, what you spend your money on. I feel like that's more regarding yourself, when it comes to I feel like you shouldn't take it out on the job, to be honest with you, because it doesn't make sense, right? Like you're blaming the job about your personal issues and why you in this certain situation.
Well, do you think that the union workers look at this as a win?
Hell yeah.
Mm.
Once they heard record profit sharing, and they saw 25% over 4 years, they just saw them more money than what they're getting right now. Because necessarily, Aaron, people don't look 5 or even 10 years down the line. Like you said, they don't look at the you said overt was the what we're going through right now.
Yeah, which is more like glaringly, which is
Yeah.
right in the
What's
face.
the other one you said it was? What's the other one? The one that's the mini scale one that you really don't pay attention to, like this
Well,
went up like 2 to
well,
3 cents.
that was a reference to silent inflation where you can't really see it, right?
Yeah. People don't really pay down. They don't pay attention to the cents. They don't pay attention down to the cents. Like I hear that you getting this 25% raise, but in actuality, by the time you reach to that 4 year with the inflation and everything it is right now, it may just turn out to be like a 10, maybe a 15% increase, maybe.
And,
And
and
during them 4 years, they may boom.
Mhm.
They may boom on the money, and you capped, and you will not see any of it. You
Well,
will not see any of it.
the problem is they keep making it seem like people just want to work. It's regular people. They don't want to be rich. They don't want to be billionaires. They just want to do enough to take care of their family. And that's not how it works. So ultimately, I just don't see how people keep playing the same game and they don't learn anything. Like, honestly, it's the same game. I see something happen one time, I go, oh, that, like, I'm very, very good at navigating. If I see something happens one time or something doesn't work here or this, that, it's like, okay, only one time do you need to deal with this. You don't need to keep having the same issue, but year after year after year, it's the same problems.
Right.
yeah, yeah. But I'm gonna go ahead and drop down. But man, it really just boiled down to like I mean, I think skill and stuff like that. It's the way to go, man. Because everything else is like, I mean, you never gonna get the fair end of that type of company deal, or either it gonna put the company in bankruptcy, or it gonna shut them down a little bit. If they keep pushing like that, that's That's how companies move overseas and stuff. I'm just saying. So at this point nowadays, I don't think the union really does a lot of good. And that's just my opinion. But salute though. Thanks for having me, bro.
All right, appreciate you. Don't be a stranger. Now, the thing is, the unions actually indirectly work for the corporations. The union is a baseline. The union is something that is known. You can't really sneak attack us. You ain't got no new methods that they don't know about. It's within the agreement of which how you can strike, when you all this. It's within an agreement. All you have
Right.
done is go to your boss and go, these are all the ways that I could attack you. These are all the things I can do to you, and I want you to know it. So that if you think these people are so I don't even want to use the word evil, but if you think these people are so bad that they can think 30 years in the future, you think that they can't strategize on how to navigate strikes and y'all bet
That's
against
what I was just about to say, Aaron. Bro, y'all just came to the agreement with this 4-year term right now. These people are probably strategizing margins, futures, all that right now, and making a baseline to know what their high point, their low point, and what they want to settle for in 2020. What would it be,
Let me give you the
2027?
example. How many times have we heard, man, I get you taken care of for a pair of Jordans?
Facts.
So that means that people know their market. I know a youngin that'll get you done for 100, like anything like that, joking or not. It's them selling you, I really know what to do in these circumstances. I know my market. I know the audience. They know their employees. They might not know their name. Susan. Oh, hi, mister. I've been working for you for 30 years. Oh, thank you so much. Like, they don't know you. They just know of you. They know of the employee. So they know how to exercise. But the point that I was trying to get people to understand is that Apple has a lot of money.
Right.
They have a streaming business, right? Where they could undercut Disney, they could undercut Viacom, they can undercut Warner Bros, they can undercut Netflix and charge the lowest prices. But will they do it? Are they willing to do that because that's what's most beneficial to the customer? Or do they realize that the industry that they're creating, that they just want to be one of the top 4 or 5 players?
Yeah. Yeah. Keep it stable. We all eat. We all eat. We might as well keep it balanced where it is right now. Everything's going smooth. You doing this, as long as you do this right now, I'll do this. We'll keep it balanced. You take a bigger portion of this, I'll take a bigger portion of that. We'll shovel this over there to y'all, and we'll just keep it balanced, and we'll check back up in next quarter to see how everything is going and see what move we're gonna make next.
Check every industry. This is the research I want you guys to do. Every industry that you're in, look at the so-called competitors. Look at the industry standard and see how much different your pay is to the industry
That's
standard.
a fact, Aaron. Let me tell you something I did in my company. I haven't done it in 2 years though. When I started driving, I started looking around companies and see what companies were paying and stuff.
Mhm.
And I saw what I was making. So what I would do was I would go fill out applications to my job's competitors. And when you fill out that application for them, the one thing they're gonna do is they're gonna do calls. They're gonna do what they call it, experience calls, where
Yeah.
they call the company that you last worked for. They're gonna call them, ask how this employee was, all this. So what I used to do, what used to happen was when I put that application in, no less than 48 to 72 hours later, my business leader, my driver leader for my terminal will call me and was like, "Hey, we got a call from so and so," and we were wondering like, "Did you fill out an application for them? What's going on? You're not happy with you doing this and that?" And I just tell them straight up, I was like, "Well, they were offering me this. I was seeing if we could work out on a deal or something. I mean, this is a better offer." And more than likely, when I did it those 4 times, I got raises on all 4 of those times. And what I found out was other drivers at my company, they weren't doing this. They would just sit there and stay for that pay and just sit there, or they would just go ahead and leave. But I just took a risk on that because I didn't know how that shit was gonna go. I just took a chance. But yeah, that's what I did. I looked at the market, the industry market, on what they were drivers were getting making at other companies around on the scale that my company.
And if that was sustainable everybody would just go work for the company that pays the most money.
Right.
Right.
But it's not.
It's not. Because eventually everybody goes to that company, they're eventually gonna stop hiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't need all y'all.
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds, it's actually more beneficial. And this is crazy, by the way, to pay your workers a little bit better than your competitor so that they actually have jobs at other companies. Because otherwise, these other companies will go away and you would only have workers that work for you. And that's it. So it would be bad. It would be bad, I think.
Yeah.
So what you think Amazon case is, Aaron?
What do you mean?
Like, ain't they getting sued for like trying to be a monopoly, like in a
I don't know about
The
that.
DOJ is always trying to look at ways to scrutinize companies. And to some degree, they're probably fair to do it, but
Right.
there is no way you can look at Amazon as a monopoly. At the conglomerate, you have to look at it by each division that it may own, right? So if you look
Right.
at cloud computing or whatever the case is, you can't argue that they are because you have Microsoft.
Right.
So that by default at least would create a duopoly, right? So that's not going to work. And there are other companies that are in the cloud, Oracle, and other places. So that's not fair. Logistically, they may be the best company when it comes to logistics, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, what you think about e-commerce?
You can't really. Well, like I said, the e-commerce, you got the Shopify's, you got a lot of people in that industry. They don't have a monopoly on it. They're just the best. So proving that they have it won't really work. Ultimately, what Amazon will do is to make sure that another competitor kind of gets up there so they can argue and say, this is why Facebook, Apple, and Google go at it so much. They want to beat each other, but they don't want you to be so far down that you start looking at us as a monopoly. They want the competition because I just want to win, though. So it like Amazon is going to be the winner forever. Like, well, I'm not going to say into perpetuity, but for the next foreseeable future, they're going to be winning in departments in which they win in. They got the money. They spend. If you go Google the cost at research and development and which companies are spending the most, you're going to see them up there. You're going to see the Metas up there. You're going to see the Apples up there. You're going to see the people with the most money always spending that money back into developing the company to sustain the next 30, 40, 50 years and to stay ahead of their competitors. Because at any time, you can go from an Intel to an NVIDIA. And the game has changed. Now Intel used to be top dog. Now NVIDIA is top dog. So you don't invest enough and you give too many dividends out. And I'm not saying that they did. Ultimately, it will destroy you because you think that you have enough of a lead that you can lollygag. And it's always somebody looking to put you out of business.
Right. And which follows my question, right? Do you ever feel like Amazon would be disrupted one day? Because I know Bezos said he believed Amazon would go bankrupt one day.
Yes. I believe there will be a competitor to disrupt a major part of their business. I think they have a lot of different businesses and components of the whole incorporation. So yes, there will be going to be certain sectors of their business that's going to get ran over eventually, but they will have so many other sectors that are outperforming. It'll make up for that. So yeah, there are going to be industries that they lose in, and they're fine with that. So
I don't think
and a company lifespan like 30 years, something like that.
Yeah. It's been around for a while. So, but yeah, most of these companies go look at the last 40 years, right? If you look at the companies that were in the S&P 500, if you look at the numbers in which they say most of these companies don't last more than 16 years.
Yeah. The overturn, yeah. If you hold the S&P 500, you can see it. I think it's between 7 and 11 new companies that get traded in every year into the S&P 500, and that's every year. That's like an average.
So you're seeing a lot. You're seeing a lot of changes. So ultimately, I do believe there are going to be new companies. I do believe there's going to be more innovation. I think there's going to be a lot of competitions in the sectors that already exist. The key is you must learn to move with industry. Do not be the last person to find out what's going on. By the time people found out what's going on with Tesla, they too late.
Yeah,
Look,
that's a
JJ
fact.
said, not if they work with the government. Well, you got to be big enough to work with the government, and most of them are not. So the government is the biggest employers. That's what they basically saying. So yes, I ultimately believe these companies will face massive competition, which will continue to push innovation. It will also be massive payouts for people that do startups, people that build companies and go, hey, I want to buy your company for $100 million. I was just in college at Cornell. When you said 100 million, you see what I'm saying? And so, yes, and it's going, and then they might keep you on. They might say, yeah, we want to keep you on, but so it's always going to continue to bleed. The big companies are always going to buy you out because you're probably going to take that money more than you believe in your vision because most people are going to fail. So, yeah,
I ain't going for it. I ain't going for the what's it called? The acquisition. I ain't going for it.
Listen, it's all about what you think is best ultimately for you, and if you're able to accomplish whatever your goal actually is. But when you start seeing them dollars, it's going to be easy for you to say, "No, I don't want to let go of this equity." But like they say, 100% of nothing ain't as good as 50% of something. So
It just depends on the valuation. I'll put it like that. If the valuation like 60, 60 billion private, before IPO, pre-IPO, shoot, I'm
listen.
holding in.
I don't have what did Edelman says $100 million salary for 250,000 for 10 years. What? So the way I look at it is like this. A lot of times what people do is they have a company, they start it, they sell it, and then they do another company, even as a competitor, right? Something that's similar, but they find a way to do it. So listen, you pass up that money if you want to, but it depends on how many zeros on that company.
So think about it. So look, if your company worth, let's say it's like Stripe right now, I think it's worth 75 billion right now.
That's how much Stripe went down to, but it was
Yeah.
at its height. They were
100,
evaluating it higher than that.
Yeah, like would you take like just say they was in the same category as same industry as Amazon. Amazon tried to acquire them for like say 100 billion. Would you
So
take it?
this is a really good question because I talk a lot about consolidation, right? And
Right.
so the payment sector, there's not a lot of talk about consolidation right now. So I'm actually looking for this to occur. I'm looking for a PayPal to try to merge with Stripe. I'm looking for an Aiden to get acquired by somebody else. I'm looking for some level of acquisition from these other companies in the payment sector in order to show at least there's some leveling out there because I'm not seeing in that industry enough. And of course, you make acquisitions that you don't have to actually disclose, the $50 million, the $200 million, the ones that Apple do all the time that are just under the threshold of disclosure. But I'm still not seeing that. And I'm waiting for that one because that's when okay, now something's starting really to shake because a lot of people don't even know about Stripe like that. So, and it's a massive company.
I'm
And
surprised people don't, bro.
you shouldn't be surprised. People only care that their money shows up to their account when it's time to get paid, bro.
Yeah, and I'm like, shoot, like y'all can, like anybody that has an LLC, that's a great platform. I know that we're gonna use it. Stripe Atlas, you heard of that before?
Yep.
So yeah, I just found their platform very intriguing, to be honest with you, because I'm like, if I
You cut out? Yeah, he cut out.
Yeah, so a lot of these payment companies are freaking from other countries anyway. They're not even American. So
yeah,
that's just one side of that coin. But no, I think the issue for me with the payment sector right now is it's not a lot of clarity that exists because the competition with uh decentralized platforms and the so-called the crypto platforms in which how they move money, because not so much the actual crypto underlying product, but how they actually move money and how that is conflicting right now, because who knows who's going to be in control of that industry and how that's going to ultimately work in the digital game. And that's where a lot of uncertainty actually exists. And I think what's going to really show the strength of the economy is this holiday season. Now, everybody knows roughly we spend around $500 billion on Christmas every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to see those numbers. I want to see if they become record numbers. So if we do 525 last year, I don't remember what the exact numbers were. If we start doing 575 or 600 billion, then I'm going to know, okay, there's a lot of money still moving, and those payment sectors are going to be getting a lot of that volume. So Peter says fintech. Yes, the complex part about fintech is not knowing exactly where that industry is headed. So there is no clarity in none of them. None of them have the best clarity in which you can see, like, oh wow, this is exactly what's going to happen. None of them. So
right. We pivoted like 3 times, but the first startup was in actually crypto. Man, I actually missed out on that. You heard of ICOs?
yeah, of course.
Dog, I would have had no problem raising money, to be honest with you.
Man, that space is so volatile, crazy, man.
Yeah. We had a what's it called? Not a stable coin, but we had a utility token, bro. I met with 2 venture capitalists, bro. I thought it was, booming from there, bro.
Yeah, that stuff is that.
And
Listen, I'm not. I don't really study that stuff too well. I like to know a little bit, but it gets. I gotta talk to JJ about stuff like that because I don't understand it. But the thing is, ultimately, what you have to understand is the behaviors of the consumers.
yeah,
And the stable coin will have some value eventually, because ultimately you go back and forth between the US dollar or other currencies in order to move into another field. So moving money around is where it's going to get really crazy. But volatility scares people. And this is what's got people up in arms right now, because the uncertainty exists. And stable coins or something with stability is where people want to hide during times of uncertainty. So how they pivot and start to build up that industry is something to watch. It may not even exist for long. They might switch it to something else, but ultimately the people, they require stability. So to some degree that it has to exist somewhere.
I have this gut feeling that Bitcoin may fail, bro, for some reason. I don't know what it is, but for somebody to create something and have not come to the forefront, bro, that really, like, think about it. It's 1 million Bitcoin just sitting there. You telling me nobody? It could be us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know.
Satoshi. You know what I'm saying? So
I don't know, bro. Like that's beyond me. I'm a simple man. I'm not overly aggressive. I'm not trying to take the highest risk for the highest rewards. I'm risque, but I'm not overly conservative. So there's a nice blend there. But some of that stuff, people just be taking some crazy risks.
crazy.
Man, I'm not touching none of that, bro. Just leave me to my index accounts. Like indexes, that's about as far as you're gonna get me to go. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, NFTs, man.
I
They lost
couldn't even. I couldn't
95% of
even
their
see.
value.
Yeah, I couldn't see myself even buying individual stocks. The only individual stock I ever bought was Tesla. That was the only one back in 2017.
Oh, that's
I can't see myself doing it, Aaron. I'm not that bright to be looking at ups and downs and trends and all that. I'd rather just let it go in the index.
Yeah, I can see why. I have a little bit of money that I allocated to what I would consider like the public, like maybe YouTube portfolio that eventually I'll start refocusing on, that I put together briefly a while back that I just been ignoring because doing other stuff. And I'll show you what it looks like. So then you'll probably be like, but you're not gonna get Elon rich unless you do.
Nah, that paywall, that's behind the paywall though. That's the members only though, Aaron.
Hey JJ, I'm already fainting right now because I know you. So I already know what you own right now. Yeah, no. Well, ultimately, I might even pivot to something else, bro. I, I'm one of those people. Eventually, I put it together. Once I get it going, then we're gonna get it rocking. But other than that, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is. And with that being said, we've reached the end of the show. This was a last-minute show, so if you came into the show late, I apologize. You need to go back and watch the show from the beginning. Until everybody else, shout out to the replay gang. But until next time, make sure you be on the lookout for Either Man Thursday takeovers. I don't know what to expect, but it's always a good show. All right. Until next